What's up, everyone? Tyler DeLuca back here from No Cap Space with another team preview as we lead into the 2025 WNBA season. I know I'm very excited. I hope you're very excited. And I hope that you are ready to tap in with No Cap Space the entire way because we got you in the build-up and we got you during the season. Every team, all the games, we'll be talking, we'll be covering. The dialogue is here on the YouTube and the website. So make sure you tapped in across the board. But let's get into today's preview. Today, we're going to be talking about the Washington Mystics. And as Tank Commander Tyler, I am very intrigued in what the Washington Mystics are doing. And this comes in a couple different ways, I'll say. Because to me, Washington is in a very mixed scenario right now, is how I put it. Look, they put so many of their eggs in the basket of this WNBA draft. And look, I think you're pretty well satisfied if you're a Washington Mystics fan of what you came away with. Sonia Citron, Kiki Iriafin, Georgia Amore. We'll get into those three. But even like a Lucy Olsen and a Zay Green. Not bad pickups at all for late rounds. However, the way that this roster is currently constructed, I'm not the biggest fan of. So let's talk about it. Let's look at the ceiling. Let's look at the floor and see where Washington can end up on top of the three things that I'm looking forward to most to seeing how it plays out this season for Washington. Ceiling, playoff contention. I don't think they make the playoffs, but I think if this team reaches their absolute best, their absolute peak, the best that they can do is contend for that final playoff spot. We were talking in the chat, especially during the preseason game against the Fever, and this is a team that has a lot of solid vet players, and we're going to talk about them. But at the same time, there's certainly levels to this, right? And in terms of what some of the other teams, especially the teams that are in the same-ish tier, I feel like Washington is in a bit of an odd spot because I don't think they're as bad as what Golden State is projected to be from a pure projection standpoint. I don't think they're going to be as bad as Washington. I think that them and Dallas find themselves in a bit of a weird spot where you can kind of tip either way. And then you even have teams like Atlanta and like Phoenix that are going to be trying brand new things where things could work out really well, or it could just simply it couldn't. But I think teams like, I think Chicago got better as a team that, didn't make the playoffs. I think LA got better, even though we'll talk about them and where, I've been, if you've been following along this offseason, I've been, kind of iffy on the Sparks build. But ultimately they got better this season. The floor though is last place. I don't think that they're going to reach their floor. I think that they are going to be a lottery team and like pretty comfortably in that lottery position. But if everything goes wrong, this is where they will be. Is like that is they are somewhere in the lottery range to me. And a big reason for that is this first section here. Georgia Amore tears her ACL. It's awful. I hate that for her. Absolute best wishes. Ultimately, I don't know what you go and do at point guard now, because you were kind of in comparison to the other rookies. Well, really more so with Kiki. You were throwing Georgia Amore into the deep end when it came to being such an important player on this team as presumably your starting point guard is what she was going to be this season. And now you don't have that. And you don't have that starting caliber point guard. To me, you have Jay Melbourne, you have Shook Sutton. That's it. Those are your point guards right now on this roster. I'll tell you right now, I can think of a rookie that just got released from a certain Golden State team. If you just wanted to take a flyer on somebody, Cheyenne Sellers is right there. But again, the point guard position is not good. I'll even say this: we've seen Lucy Olsen play a lot of point guard this past year at Iowa. Just a thought to try out. I mean, in these preseason games and whatnot. Again, I'll be very interested in just seeing what that looks like in that way. Again, it absolutely just sucks for Georgia across the board that this is how her rookie season will that won't even be considered a rookie season now. Like it's just it's so unfortunate. And it also, like, from a purely basketball perspective, it's tough for Washington because now you don't even get this season to evaluate what Georgia Amore is from a potential basis. What does she look like in the WNBA? And obviously, rookie years aren't the be all end all of projections or anything like that, but it certainly helps in figuring out what you might have. And now Washington loses out on that. So both in an immediate aspect of previewing this season and in the future, what do you do at point guard? Is going to be a very important question for this Washington Mystics franchise as a whole. And I'll be interested in seeing, if we see some potential veteran point guards get cut across the league, or even again, maybe some younger players, like again, a Shine Sellers, just as these cuts really kind of get underway, is the first name that pops into my head. But we'll see. Like, genuinely, I'm very interested in what that looks like. But when it comes to good news for the rookies, how about these two rookies? Kiki Iriafen and Sonia Citron, two friends in no cap space. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Two friends in no cap space. Look, man, I was so incredibly high on Sonia Citron going into this draft. And look, it's just one preseason game. I'm not going to go and take a victory lap. If I was you and you were talking to me, I would be like, Tyler, don't go on a victory lap for this lottery pick. It's a lottery pick. I don't care. I'm a Sonia truther. A Sonia truther through and through. That's me. So seeing what she was able to do in this first preseason game, again, not to be all end all by any means, but that is exactly what I projected her to be able to do. And I talk about throwing Georgia Amore into the deep end. That was kind of like what the plan seemed to be. To me, Sonia, it's not even really throwing her into the deep end because she is so incredibly pro ready. Like, there's not many questions as to what Sonia is going to give you on in terms of what her skill set provides on a WNBA court. She could shoot the three. She could play defense. I was incredibly impressed by her movement off ball. We saw a couple of tough finishes as well. I adore Sonia's game, and I truly believe that she can be one of the players that truly introduces the 3-and-D archetype into the modern WNBA as we see teams continue to move towards what we see a lot on the men's side with three-point shooting. We've seen, there's like 4 teams right now that are providing that as a true emphasis to the way that they want to play basketball. And Sonia seems like just the perfect archetype for what a 3-and-D player in the WNBA can look like. I truly believe in her potential to be an all-star and to just absolutely star in her role. I don't know if she's ever going to be the player that is going and scoring 20 points a game or anything like that, but I could not be higher on what she can do all around on the basketball court. And for Kiki, look, Kiki was the very first no cap space interview. Fun fact. And when she was still at Stanford. So we have been fans of her game for a long time now, and it has only increased. And frankly, I don't think that she ever caught the momentum at USC that I think everyone had kind of hoped for. I don't think that's some hot take to say by any means. But I'll tell you right now, and look, man, it is what it is. But the moment with Sophie Cunningham in that game where, yes, she gets a flagrant, but the smile that she had after that, not only did I admittedly laugh, but that's the confidence I need from Kiki. And I don't think that she lacks confidence by any means. And that is what is going to take for her to, I feel like, to reach the potential and get back to where she can be. And because, this is the player that should have been the number 2 overall pick. That was like going into the college season. She didn't get worse. I promise you. So the fact that the Mystics were able to go and get these 2 players, that is what I'm looking for this season from them. And that is also what worries me because, again, Sonia is going to be fine. She's going to start. Like, she's set. Kiki's position on this team worries me from a pure developmental standpoint. I've talked about this before, but you have Emily Engster, Aaliyah Edwards, Shakira Austin, Stephanie Dolson. Like, there's so many forwards that need to get minutes. Like, these are all good forwards and bigs. They deserve to get minutes. But goodness, you are planning for the future. And that's where I feel like Washington is in that weird mix right now, where it's like Stephanie Dolson probably shouldn't be here. And we'll talk about that. But even like a Shakira Austin, like, are you keeping Shakira Austin long term? She's been great whenever she's on the floor, but the injuries have certainly been an issue. You know, it's like when you bring in a Kiki, when you bring in like an Aaliyah Edwards last season, right? That's the question I have. And how can you get these players the proper minutes that they need? And it goes both ways, because like these older players, and not like Shakira Austin's older player, but like Stephanie Dolson is a vet that deserves to be on the court and is very, very good. And so let's move on and let's talk about that, because where do you stand at the deadline? Look, in the WNBA, if you are a newer fan, the trade deadline is normally a ghost town. Not many moves happen, especially if you are like an NBA fan coming over. The action on the NBA side is not mirrored on the WNBA side. However, I think that the Washington Mystics, if they decide to be sellers at the trade deadline, could absolutely change the makeup of the entire WNBA. Because if you look, there's several teams that could use the services of Stephanie Dolson. I mean, look, immediately the first thing that comes to mind is the Dallas Wings, right? And like that could be enough for a playoff push. There are teams like, if you go, and I'm not thinking like money or anything off the top of my head, but just from a fit perspective, like, goodness, if you put her next to Asia Wilson, that could make the Aces championship favorites, like, it depending on how everyone else is playing. Like, these are the type of players that Washington has on their roster. And when you trade Ariel Atkins to Chicago, I kind of thought we might be going full-blown rebuild in Washington, and we didn't really see that, because you still have Brittany Sykes, who I actually like being on this roster, because you do need a good vet. And frankly, you don't have any guards on this team, especially with Georgia Amore going down. I like Brittany Sykes being on this team. However, with that being said, Brittany Sykes could absolutely be a game changer when it comes to the playoff picture if you go and give her to the right team, right? And you could get a major return for that. So with the emphasis now on draft picks across the WNBA, to me, it feels like there should be much more possibility for trade deadline deals. And if the Washington Mystics became a seller on the trade deadline market, they could genuinely shake up the entire WNBA come trade deadline time. And I'll say, with these vets, and this is a point I believe it was Greer in that chat that she had made, I feel like they're going to be in these games. A lot of it due just to the vets that they have. And again, if Sonia is contributing in the way that she did in that preseason game, if that is the norm for her, I mean, goodness, like, that's fantastic, right? Can you get over the hump and win enough of these games to make it to the playoffs? One, I don't think you want to. And two, I don't know if you got the oomph for that across the board, right? So I'm very interested if Washington can find a way, and this is the thing that you're aiming for in a tank, are good losses, close losses, where you build good habits in close games. You don't want to get blown out every game. That's never good. But with this team, I think that you might be able to find the balance in that. But you have to figure out the logjam at the forward position. And I don't know if you can do that without moving players on the roster right now. And I don't know what that looks like exactly. And because you're certainly not, again, all of these players, like, it is a compliment to all these players that you have this problem. But goodness gracious, it's a problem, especially when you look at the balance on this team. You're going to have Kiki playing point guard? Like, what are we doing? You know, like, the balance on this team is not it right now. And that's part of where I worry about being closer to the floor, is that balance. And if there could be any frustration with playing time or things of that nature. Not that I've heard anything like that. It's not any type of, I'm not trying to start any nasty rumors by any means. But I'm just intrigued by what that looks like. Because right now, the balance on this roster does not make sense to me, and you got a lot of talent to try and figure out. So for me, I would imagine that they are, I could see them being the second or third team out of the playoffs, being in the lottery. That is where I would put them generally. But again, if everything just goes to absolute hell, they could find themselves in last place. I don't think that's happening. And if everything goes really, really good, and these vets are absolutely balling, and the rookies can come in, do what they're supposed to do, Aaliyah Edwards getting back in the frame, Shakira Austin, if they can come in and do what they need to do and stay healthy while doing so, I think there is a world where they can push for playoff contention. Again, I don't know if I can get as far as to say that their ceiling is reaching the playoffs, but I do think that there is a world where Washington can contend for that final playoff spot. But that'll do it for me. This is the Washington Mystics preview. We got more teams coming on the way on this YouTube as we continue to preview this entire season. Let me know what you think. Where are you feeling that Washington is going to end up this season? Are you worried about the development of these rookies and who should they go and get for point guard? There's a lot of questions to be answered about this Washington Mystics team, and I'm curious to know what you guys think about it. So make sure you like, subscribe, you'll comment. Let me know. Let me know how you're feeling. Let's get a little vibe check here on the Washington Mystics. Make sure you're tapped in on nocastspacewbb.com as well. We have larger, longer form team previews on there amongst all of the rest of our podcast and our print content over there as well. And of course, our friends at Home Field, NoCat15. Go check them out and go get ready for the college season. I know it's going to get here before you know it. I promise you. I promise you. And you want to rip it during the summer. It's t-shirt season. Go get some nice stuff from Home Field. Make sure you're tapped in across the board, and I'll see you next time.